email to coachescornerradioshow@gmail.com.
Time to understand that if you want to get something out of your life, you got to be willing to work for it. I'm talking to the one that wants to go beyond the limit. I'm talking to the one that is willing to work a little bit harder than the next man or the next woman. I'm talking to the one that's been through hell. I'm talking to the one that really wants to take it to that level that no one has ever been. When you step into that room, when you step into that environment, you got to be hungry enough to eat what is coming your way. You cannot be.
Hello, what is up, everyone? Welcome to the Coach's Corner on the Coach's Corner Radio Network. It is Friday, October 6th. Can you believe it? We're already in October. One more month and it's my birthday. That's kind of scary. For today's show, I want to talk about something we've kind of talked about in the past. I don't know if you remember, about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks ago. I believe this is episode 6 we were on, by the way. But about 3 weeks ago, we talked about SoFi and the SoFi experience in the stadium. And they're set up for people with challenging or quote-unquote disabilities. So today I want to kind of bring you on and talk about kind of two different topics. Two different theme parks, kind of the same experience. But the first one I want to talk about is, I believe it's the Universal Studios Horror Nights, or Halloween Horror Nights. First and foremost, before I really get in detail and how we will be discussing this and talking about this, I want to thank them. I want to thank their upper management or affiliates on using common sense in designing or coming up with the somewhat proper of a game plan to orchestrating and assisting those with challenges or disabilities and having an actual separate line to go through their mazes. I believe this specific theme park has or had 8 specific mazes you could go through. And about after the 4th or 5th one, not going to lie to you, they seem to be the same. But, shout out to everyone who put the time in to do all this and the orchestration that it takes to make sure that it goes as smooth as possible. And I will be highlighting a few different moments and a few different experiences that I had. It's probably been about 4 days since I went. I think it was last Friday. It might have been 5 or 6 days. But the biggest thing I want to address and kind of bring to the forefront for all of you guys out there is that somebody, whoever was in the, I guess, orchestrating or design industry of these lines and how to flow that many people through all of this traffic was pretty clever, because not only did they have, standard line, super premium line or whatever they called it, or I don't remember their exact word. Oh, I think it was like express or super express lines. But anyways, they actually designated a separate line that was a little bit wider for you to congregate if you had a mobility scooter, a mobility device, walker, so on and so forth, to be able to get through and up to the front of the maze and whatnot, which I thought was pretty cool because, again, being a person with a long life, quote unquote, disability, as much as you guys think or you may want to act on, we're treated the same, we're treated with the same respect, the same care. I hate to break it to you. Unfortunately, I've been in this business or in this situation for a long time, and we're not. Um, we are treated differently in a lot of different ways, but as most of you would probably know, or I would hope you guys would know, is that it's on basically on how you carry yourself and how you treat your own challenge or your own disability. Again, I'm only speaking for me and for what I've had to continuously go through, approaching 32 years of my life. Some of it has been really fun and easy, and others have been really, really challenging. But for those of you that have, maybe watched these videos or listened to them at least, you know that I accept the challenge. I enjoy the challenge. It's fun to me. I enjoy the haters. But anyways, back on topic is the fact that Universal has or had these separate lines. Not only was it easier to get up to the front of the maze, but to have them or have their staff realize who's what doing in what line. So every 5 seconds, I didn't have to repeat myself. Oh, by the way, I'm in a mobility scooter, mobility device, and or walker, or I walk slower than the average person. I didn't have to continue to address, my issues or my concerns. The staff seems like they were all up to date on the proper protocol for these individuals with different, disabilities and or challenges and or problems or whatever the case may be. So it made for, as a guest, a more smoothing experience. And this kind of relates back to what I was saying on the SoFi concerns I had a few weeks ago when I went to, first and foremost, the Metallica tour. I think they just wrapped up their tour, but they were out here at SoFi. I went to that, and then I think it was the weekend right after that concert, I went to a football game. I think it was the Chargers versus the Dolphins. Like I said before, great experience as far as the concert went. I was fortunate to know someone in that business, and I got kind of quote unquote special treatment. And when I say special treatment, I'm not talking about, like the golden handshake. Okay, treat me like a, $50 million person or whatever the case may be. But to be at the VIP level and to just get that genuine sense of respect for, me being equal to everybody else. And the people down below during the Metallica concert really didn't see me any different, like they kind of did upstairs. To kind of play into that, because I haven't really talked about that before, was upstairs on the upper level, they wanted me to store my device or a piece of equipment that I use to get around somewhere, away from me, number one. Number two, they don't have designated areas up there at the upper level to place these devices, to place, what you need, later on. Like, for example, like if I have to use the restroom or whatever the case may be. But, at the VIP level, you kind of just whatever you have, you carry on with you, and they leave you alone, and it's not a big deal. So like I said, the last couple of months, I've been fortunate enough to be put in some different experiences, and it kind of brings up a great show for you guys, is because now you guys will know and you'll have a better understanding of an everyday life of someone that lives with challenges, lives with disabilities, lives with, constant, adapting to this or to that. But anyways, back to the, VIP level for the concert per se was, they just they looked at you like one of their own, They didn't ask if I needed any special thing. They let me walk where I wanted to walk. And it's just like, it's kind of like the old Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You get the golden ticket and you're free to roam. That's kind of what it felt like for that experience. But back to the Universal side of things was really cool because, like I said before, I didn't have to go around saying what, my problems were, or this or that, this or that was. and I didn't have to wear, anything different to be, notified or labeled, so that they could find me. Like I said, I really think that their staff was, up to par as far as, being, I'll just say, coached up to, their expectations on treating each other equally. And for those that want to maybe listen to this later, on in the future and say, oh, well, everybody does. No, everybody really doesn't. And again, if you don't live the life that I do, or anywhere close to that, you're not going to know. And I accept your, thoughts and opinions, but I promise you that I'll counteract those, with real life experiences. And that's what this show is all about. Is all about realism and real life experiences. So I just give it really props to, SoFi for going out of their way and really taking the time to, invest the time, to where everyone, and I can only guess there's several thousand, employees, especially for that, horror nights, because I know it's probably 10 or 20 times more than they would probably allow in the park, during an actual day of, just Universal Studios itself. Also, I want to take the time to, shout out the, transportation, there at Universal, because it is multi-story, grounds. It is very, active. For those of you that don't know, Universal, actually shoots live scenes and, different, movie takes, commercial takes, so on and so forth. But right now, because of the strike that just wrapped up, their specific studio, was dead for a while. It was very slow. Certain takes were, filmed and redone and whatnot that were able to, but the vast majority was, dead and down, and just didn't have the time to do that. But like I said, I also want to give it out to the transportation, because it is a dual, level complex of, there's an upper level, a mid level, and a lower level, and a lot of the mazes were on the lowest of the lowest level. And to have the system that they did, where they were running 3 transport buses to bus, and I'm not, again, here to point fingers, but the average of people with mobility issues or mobility problems was probably sky high, compared to the fact that the more, quote unquote, more mobile people was a lot more. But in actuality, the more people with problems, could be as far as back problems, leg problems, limb problems, wheelchair problems, I don't know, and I'm not here to point fingers, but it was just an incredible scene to see how they actually had. And I talked about this before, either on, my own network or, previous places. It's really all about a system. And I know that for those that really know who I am and really understand who the coach is behind the microphone, systems and and protocol and stuff like that is extremely important for great efficiency. And like I've said it before, and I'll say it again, anything in your life that you want to perfect or go smoothly or do well at, you have to have a system. You have to have something that you've developed. And for those that don't know and may catch this later on, over the course of the last 16 years straight, I've been fortunate enough to be a part of many programs, of many systems, of many, staffs on the good, the bad, the different. And with doing that, I was able to understand the concept of building my own program, building my own system, building my own structure. And I have been fortunate enough to put it in effect at the middle school level, on for football teams, for basketball teams, and other events, and actually seen, or I should say, yeah, seen, saw, excuse me for that, it come together and actually work. So again, this is firsthand experience about putting a system together, putting a program together, and actually developing something and making it work. I'm currently my third weekend a flag football team. Actually, kids I don't even know. I'm trying to put together a team, build camaraderie. With the camaraderie, try to build successful individuals, and on top of all of that, try to get the win. Um, and at the middle school level, trying to do that is even more challenging than at the high school level, because for us, we're only allowed to practice, I think, 2 days a week. So therefore, um, I'm able to do that and have that ability and level of success. Again, it's just the years of coaching I was able and still able to do, and be fortunate enough to retain some of these important details on what it takes to have or to build a system or a culture into these young student athletes, where I'm visibly seeing the generation of athletes or style of athletes change right before my eyes. And it's pretty amazing. Some is good, some is bad, some is not good at all and terrible, but we'll leave that stuff out. But back to the moral of the conversation or podcast per se, is that again, I shout out Universal Studios for their hospitality, their sign of respect, their sign of I'll just say it, inclusion, where I didn't have to feel different, where I didn't have to sit there and constantly tell them, what I need, or, the adaptabilities or whatever. They were all seemed to be trained up to par. It was a very kind of fun, relaxing experience. I did get into a couple different takes towards the end, but we'll leave those out. For the most part, it was all positive. It was a great experience. Again, I applaud them for whoever orchestrated that for the season of 2023. And hopefully it will continue that way and continue to be as proficient as it seemed the night that I went. Now, I would like to introduce another experience that I just had on Tuesday, I believe it was. Tuesday, I went to Disneyland with my sister, who is currently in town, and we spent the day at Disneyland. Now, I really, and I understand that this brings a little bit of controversy, which some of my stuff does, and I'm fully aware of that, and I'm fully okay with your comments, your likes, your concerns, or whatever the case may be. And I want to bring this to you guys' attention. And go ahead for me on this one specifically. Leave your comments. Tell me if this is acceptable. Tell me if this is equal. Tell me if this is fair. I don't really know how to word it. I don't even know how to put it in a category for you guys to comprehend better or understand better. We're going to take a few minutes and talk about it at length. But what I really want to talk about for this one is, now, usually people with, and I'm not speaking for everyone, but certain circumstances and certain situations, people with disabilities or with challenges or that are in these devices are lucky enough to get out of their bed every single day, let alone lucky enough to go to an amusement park. So here's what I want to get at. Now, for those of you, which a lot of you probably won't understand the amusement park system when it comes to having a wheelchair, a scooter, or any hindrance against the normal bodied people. And yes, I know I said it just like that because this is a show and this is a program where we get down to the nitty gritty, and we're talking the nitty gritty, and this is the nitty gritty. And if you can't handle the nitty gritty, there's the door. You can bounce. But anyways, back to what I was talking about was, so I had a family of 7 at Disneyland on Tuesday. Now, for those of you that don't know or don't understand or don't know the proper system, or so to be called proper system, that Disneyland specifically likes to use, you go to this little station and you get what they call a return time. So basically, you were waiting your time in line to go on the so-called ride, whatever it might be, Haunted Mansion, any of the rides. But what the thing is that, yeah, cool, that's great, that's wonderful, everything else, whatever. Now, couple things I don't really like about that. One, sometimes if your party is more than 7, or let's just say more than 10, you have to split up your party. Now, let's say, 3 of the 5 people, or 2 of the 5 people at that, or whatever, 2 of the 7 people have disabilities. Let's say you go with a group of people with disabilities. Now, you're going to tell me just because I have more than 7 people, my party has to split up. For one, I don't like that. I'm going there with my family to be with my family, not to be separated from my family. That's the first red flag that I don't like. And yes, you guys, you're going to get a little bit of passion with this specific topic, because this is a lot of places where I go. They really want to, quote unquote, and I'll say it because I'm not afraid. They want to label you. They want to, and you can tell me they don't, and they want to, but if they didn't, they would come up with a better system. Number 2 is that you're not allowed to go and get multiple return times, which one way I could see why, the next way I can't see why. For one, you need to understand, or you should understand, me getting across the park in a mobility device, scooter and or walker and or crutches. One, first and foremost, it takes me 10 times longer to do so, let alone on the average Joe walking across the park and going and getting times and this and that. Is completely different than, just somebody generally walking over here, standing in a line and going. And I understand, it's to slow that down because people don't want them to ride consistently or, continuously or whatever the case may be. But the thing and the fact of the matter is this, is that if you like I said before, if you have a group of families or whatever, or your own family who you want to stay and be with, why should I be split up? But here's where it gets really interesting, and here's really the topic, and the thing that I want to bring to light is the fact of this. So you have all that, you have all the chaos that I just mentioned, I just talked about. But you know what's really horrible in a lot of ways, because a lot of people can't afford to do this. But if I have the ability to purchase the Genie Pass and can select this ride or that ride or whatever ride I choose to select within that day, and I think you get 6 Genie passes or whatever when you pay a little bit of extra money. Again, and here's where it gets really interesting to me, and I can't comprehend it. But because I pay for the Genie Pass, I'm able to skip the quote unquote, let's just say, exit line for people with scooters or disabilities or whatever you want to sit there and call them. I can skip that line and I can be a quote unquote, let's just say, normal person. That's fine. Cool. That's granted. Wonderful. Way cool. But because I have a Genie Pass, 1, I can stay with my family. 2, I'm not having to hold my place in line. And this is really where it comes down to. And again, I'll say it. I'm not afraid. I'm not scared. People and these bigger industries, that all they want is your money. All they want is your money. And I'm going to tell you something. In an industry like this and other places like this, your money talks. Because look, Your money talks, and look what it gets you. It gets you that, it's like that VIP pass. Now, why can't we figure out a way to equalize, because I have a quote unquote blue pass that I have to go get return times? Why can't I get a quote unquote little favoritism, or a little golden ticket, or a little, front of the line? Oh, you only have 7 people, so we'll just get you right on. You can scan your phone and boom, there you go. Boom, there you go. I should be able to run around just like everybody else and go from ride to ride to ride to ride, and not sit there and wait and wait and wait, And some of these return times are like 2 hours, 4 hours. And I'm like, what am I supposed to go do for 4 hours? Are you going to go give me a food voucher and you're going to let me sit there and eat for 4 hours until my time's up? Because I can't go stand in another line, even though it's shorter, and go get on a ride. Because if I do that, it voids out the return time that I'm trying to get on. And I'm going to tell you another theme park that does it. Knott's Berry Farm does it, because people, and here's again where it's going to get a little nasty. People abuse the system so bad that they've had to change these thoughts and rules and this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I will say, for the most part, I'm pretty excited about that. They're trying to make all the lines, quote unquote, mobility accessible. Again, that will help with not being able to be separated from your family. That will help with, I think, just being more, the togetherness will be there. There's a lot of pros. I think there's going to be a few cons with it, but we'll have to wait and see. It's just one of those things that I won't know till it happens. So, it's the last month or two for me specifically has been a really unique and interesting. I've been put in place of interesting situations, but I'm retaining these situations and gonna make shows out of them. I'm gonna, talk about them. I'm gonna bring them to light, because I don't think a lot of people currently do. Not only do they have to live with it for the rest of their life, but they're actually bringing you what I'm trying to do. What I am doing is actual living experiences of going through this. Just like less than a week ago, I literally done both of these, and it's like night and day. One's really good. Like, for example, we can go back a couple weeks. Again, really quick, is the concert, because I knew someone in the industry. They were able to hook me up in that way. 2, we have SoFi and the football experience. The football game specifically was wonderful and was great, and I'd love to do it again, and I hope I have that opportunity one time in my life. But, leading up to that game and leading into getting in the stadium, to dropping off my device because I can't take it up to the upper level, to getting my device after the game's over and having to wait 2.5 hours because they couldn't, locate it, or it was on a different floor, and the list goes on. So it's just something to me, because, and then you have, like the Disneyland experience or the Knott's Berry Farm experience, but if you pay a little extra, we'll treat you normal. And I think that that's unfair. And I'll come out right now and tell you, I shouldn't have to pay any more than the average Joe to get treated equally. And you know what? Unfortunately, and I know this, but let's say somebody doesn't have the power to speak what I'm speaking to you right now, is that I'm fortunate and I'm very thankful that I live with a family that's able to support this and support what I've had to overcome and still have to overcome. And I'm thankful that we have the little bit of extra money to hash out so that these experiences can be easier. But let's talk about the average Joe or the average whatever who doesn't have the extra income to blow for VIP tickets, for VIP access at Disneyland, or the Genie Pass, or whatever, or or the Fast Pass at Disneyland, or Knott's Berry Farm. Excuse me. What about those guys? Let's talk about them. Let's take it off of me, and let's really make the focal point on